So I'm going to start my presentation, which is adding .NET Visual Controls to a PowerBuilder Classic application. Originally, I did this presentation for not only this group, but also the Carolina Code Camp, which was last weekend, put on by the Developers Guild. Hey, Corey. This is a topic that if you go online and you look for information about how to do this, it's very, very sparse, and it's really not that hard. So this is one of these things that I wanted to do. I forced myself to learn about it because I hadn't done it in such a long, long time that I had totally forgotten about how I had done this. So now here's my slide about PowerBuilder. That was for the Code Camp. We all know it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But basically what this involves is Microsoft has a toolkit called the Interop Forms Toolkit, which is a kind of an add-in into Visual Studio. And they released version 1 quite a long time ago. And this was for allowing their VB6 people to use controls that they had created in .NET. And it was kind of geared towards the idea of getting people to migrate their VB6 stuff into VB.NET. But it allows you to create wrappers around your controls in VB.NET, and it exposes methods and properties that you can then use within any application that supports COM, PowerBuilder being one of them. But you could do the same kind of thing and use these controls in VB6, for example. I'm not familiar with Delphi, but if they use COM, I'm sure you could use these things in Delphi. But I have a URL there, and if you just went to the Microsoft website and did a search for Interop Forms Toolkit, it would come up with a link to that as well. But the current version supports Visual Studio 2005, 8, and 10. Oh, that's 210. Wow. But giving them a little more credit than they might deserve. But anyway, it's a fairly quick download. Now, I have the full-blown version of Visual Studio. I have not tested this with the Express versions of Visual Studio. So it should work, but I have not tested that particular setup. But what's the point of this? Well, again, it's, Microsoft's original idea was to help it migrate all the people that got left behind in the VB6 world into VB.NET. It's a way to reuse code. You can modernize the look of your older applications. Can take advantage of .NET. And if you have a group that's developing in .NET, it's a good way to get more bang for your buck by consuming some tools that maybe another team has developed, and why reinvent the wheel in PowerBuilder if you don't have to. Well, the first thing you got to do in .NET, you got to install the toolkit, and that takes a very quick install. It adds a couple of items on your Visual Studio toolkit, toolbar, I guess, template there. I think this is a template. So what I did, you just create a project in Visual Basic, and you use this VB6 interop control, which gets what gets installed. You build your control, and what I chose to do is, I don't know if anybody's looked at the track bar that's in PowerBuilder, but it's really kind of kind of poor. So I decided, well, why don't I make the track bar out of Visual Studio, and unlike the PowerBuilder track bar, I'll make my track bar so I can change the color of the background on the track bar. So if I have a window that's not light gray, it won't look like some weird control sitting in the middle of my window. I can change the color. So I created a control, and all this has is a little track bar and a label. There's two controls there plopped together on this little form here. And I played around with some of the options, the tick marks and all that kind of stuff. And I decided, well, because my whole point is changing the background color, let me make sure I make the background color something that I probably would never make a window. So I put it all yellow. So then you have to code your methods to expose this functionality into PowerBuilder. And these can be things that either you call from PowerBuilder or events that get triggered that PowerBuilder can react to. You can expose your control properties, and in the .NET world you have these get and set, or getter and setter methods that you do that with. All the code is in this interop user control object, and in order to get your events listed in PowerBuilder, so when you drop your control on a PowerBuilder window, for example, and you right-click and you see your event scripts, in order to get your events to show there, you have to have an interface in your Visual Basic control. And at the bottom of this screen, this is a little snippet of code taken out of the interface file within my project, and I have the one section highlighted in red because that's the name of the control that I have to reference. It's like two separate objects. I have to reference the one in the other. So I highlighted that in red because that was something that when I was reading the sparse information on the web, it was like, what the heck am I doing here? And I'm not a .NET Visual Studio coder, so I don't know a lot of the little nuances of things within that. I've done some C# programming, but not a tremendous amount. And in this particular case, I'm calling my control this IOP control. That's what I called it, at the very bottom there. And I'll run a little sample. So here's setting up my interface. There's my project, and I add a new item to my project, and I'm adding and the little red oval is around how you do this. You're on your project and you click Add, and then there's a component, and then in the component there's this interface. And that was again something that, I took a while for me to figure out, because it said add an interface to this. Well, how do I do that? And Googling got me some pointers in the right direction, so I finally found how to do that. So that's why I made sure I did a screenshot of what I did. And that generates this interface section at the bottom, a file, and at the bottom there is the main part. Again, you see in red that II interop user control events, that's the same, using that same name that we put in the previous section. I put a GUID in bold because I generated a GUID out of Visual Studio and plopped that value in there. You need to do that. And then at the bottom I have these parts in green that display ID 1 sub TD scroll. That's an event that I'm exposing. That event will be exposed in PowerBuilder. And that's how you get this interface, is how you get the event to display within PowerScript. And in .NET, here's a whole bunch of stuff here. This is in my, it generates this all this stuff, and then there's this line that says, please enter any new code here. And it's like, oh, okay. So the first thing I want to do is I got to show my event. So I declare a public event, and that's that TB scroll. And then below that, I have to basically, what is that event? It's like, what does the COM do? It like interprets the event from the control. That's probably not the right terminology, but that's kind of how I envision it in my mind. So this toolbar scroll event handles the scroll on TB1. Now TB1 is the name of the little toolbar that I created on the form, and it has events just like in PowerBuilder. You have a control and it has events. So I'm basically creating a private event to handle that, so when that thing scrolls, it gets interpreted by this interface. And what does it do? It sets my label text equal to the value. So as it goes from 1 to 100 or 1 to whatever my maximum value is, that's why I put that little label there. I wanted to see what the number was. So it's doing that. It's changing the value in that label. And then it's raising this TB scroll event. And that raise event is what, again, that allows it to be seen from within PowerBuilder. Something else I also wanted to do is I wanted to be able to call a method from PowerBuilder. So I created a method called TB setback color. And this is where I wanted to control what the background color of my control was. So first I have to set up a color object, and then I set my track bar back color equal to that color. And I'm sorry, I skipped this step. I'm sending it a Visual Basic integer, which in PowerBuilder is a long. That test val, that's the color number. I'm sending it. I want to send it a number that corresponds to an RGB value of a color. It's going to take that color, and in the Visual Basic world, .NET world, it creates this color object. And then I set my background color of my track bar equal to that color. I also had a label on my control, so I want to make sure the label has the same color. And then the actual control itself has a little, you always have a little bit of a shadow of it outside whatever you place on it. So I'm setting that all to my color. So it's all one uniform color. So that's this method that I'm going to call from within PowerBuilder. Now you can also change the color through properties. And that's what this bottom part is, this get and set method. So I'm kind of doing two things, this and that previous method, that TB setback color. They kind of do the same thing, but I just wanted to show a property that you could expose and change just for the sake of showing how to do it. And then I also expose another property for the value, and that's the value of your track bar is, in my particular case, I set its maximum of 100. So as you scroll the little button back and forth, the value changes from 0 to 100. So I wanted to expose that property. Not only can I get what the number is, but I can also set it as well. So that's all this code. And now in PowerBuilder. Now before I go there, let me go into, I think I should go into Visual Studio. I can show you real quick. I did a whole lot of talking, and it's probably easier if I just bring up my control here. When I first created this, you'll see over here this Solutions Explorer, okay. All of this stuff was created for me with the exception of this interface file. When I created the control, it created all this stuff for me. And most of the code is in this interop user control. Here's the design of it. And as you can see, there's my little bar and my little label. Now if I go in and, no, I want to go over here. And I want to view the code. There's all this stuff up here. That all got created for me. I didn't do any of that. Now there's some good information in here. When I was trying to figure out how to like expose what the properties were, I went into here and it gives you examples of things. So it was definitely of value. But here's this enter your code, you know, and there's that TB scroll event. Here's all this stuff. Now I've got some stuff commented out because I wanted to show you the process I went through. If you go, you do some stuff, you load it into Power Builder, you see how it works, and you say, oh, I want to do this too. So you go back to Visual Studio, you change some more stuff. We just wanted to kind of demonstrate that as we go on. But this is all, you know, again, basically what was in there. I'll show you this interface file. And again, I have another event that I'm going to expose here. I have it commented out. And once you have this done, all you do, build. Let's see, is it building? Build solution. There we go. Only takes a few moments. One of the things this does, this version, is it'll register this. You don't have to go out and take the DLL and go in and do a register of your DLL. Now there are ways to do this so you don't have to register DLLs, and there's articles on just doing that in general for .NET code. I didn't get into all of that. To me, I'll just baby steps, I guess, if you will. So build succeeded. Okay, now I'm done. So let's go back. So there, I built my control. Now I'm going to insert my OLE control into the window. Now after I built it, and you go and you click on the OLE and you drop it on your Power Builder window, you come up with this insert object, and you go to insert control and you scroll down and you can see my thing. It's called IOP Code Camp. That's what I called it. Click on that, click OK, plop it on my control. Now here down at the bottom, you can see the Power Builder control. Nice gray. And mine, it's yellow. I put a little black box around it, a little button to set the color, and a label above it just to show some information. And then now you can code any specific functionality. And this example down in here is in that TB scroll event. You can see I put some code there. It's a little bit fuzzy here, but I'm setting my static text text equal to the value returned by that TB value event. And that's what returns that long number. That's the RGB value of the color that I sent it. So it's returning that back to me, and I'm just going to plop it in the text box just so I can see it. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think to do that. Oh, okay. No, now we can't do it. So let's go into Power Builder. I haven't gotten used to Power Builder, so I get used to it to change things. Oops. Anybody remember the old source control in Power Builder before version 7, where all your stuff was all at the top, you know? I used to really like that. You just switched to a new version control system here, so that's why I'm thinking about that. Alright, so I have my first app here, first app window. Oh, of course I open the application. Yeah, sure you've used PowerBuilder before. Okay, so here's my little form, a little bit different than this screenshot, but basically in this event, here's my scroll event that gets triggered from the control. I'm getting that value. I'm moving the PowerBuilder control to the same value, so they both kind of mirror each other as you move them around. I set the text value to that long so I can see what the color number is. And then I'm also playing around with the background color of the window, because why do you need this kind of control anyway? Well, I want to like slide it around until I get the right color. So, you know, I'm wondering if this is going to work. So here's my control. So set the color there. And all that button did is that set the background color of my control. Now this isn't the greatest color combination, but you can see I could have done that in a constructor type event or something of that nature. So when this form opened, everything was the same background color. And I can't do that here in PowerBuilder. He's a sad little guy. But here, see, I'm moving my control around. And this is being set from within the control itself, the visual control created in VB.NET. This I'm setting as I'm reacting to the event, and I'm also changing the luminosity value of the background color. What does this do? Hey, set a color. Okay. So, oh, and up here, you can see this number up here. That's the value of the RGB color that I set this to. So now, if I go back in here and I take out, one of these days I'll learn how to type. Save that. Down here, there's another place. Raising this and that. I'm just showing this just, I don't think it matters. It's not complain because it looks nasty, so, okay. Now I'm going to go up here and build again. Okay. Can't do anything. Oh, you know why? Because PowerBuilder is running. Let me close that. There we go. Now, part that I'm not sure about now is, okay, I just added something to this control. Now, my experience has been in the past that you would have to you have to like remove the control from your PowerBuilder form and re-add it in order to get the new thing on there. But let's see what happens. And let's set that color. You can see here this changed. And that's just saying to set the color. Yeah, it blew up. Yep. And that's because it's like got an out-of-date version on this. And the only way that I know of how to get around this is, and when I first was doing these back in PowerBuilder 7 days, and I was using ActiveX out of Visual Basic, I used to have to go in and you go up here and you add a new control. And this is the part, I mean, I would love to know an easier way to do this, but here's my control. There it is. Okay. And I go here. Script. Copy that out of there. And I go up here. See, now you'll see this TB value changed event. That's the thing that we just added. But if when we go back and I paste it in here, and let's see if there's any other, just in the clicked event. Okay. And then, see if we look in here in the script, there's that TV scroll, but that other event isn't here. Because it's like this is referencing some out-of-date thing. So the only way I know of how to change this is get rid of him, go up here, change him back to that other name. And this is where it kind of gets to be a pain. And again, if there's a better way of doing this, you know, and then putting him back here, I would like to know what it is. That's the only way I know of. Now, again, we're doing the same thing. Oh, something's not right. I'll have to play with that then. So there's some event that I don't have code in. The other thing I've noticed is, like I exposed that scroll event. If I don't have anything in PowerBuilder, even if it's not doing anything, even if it's just like setting a string equal to something, it throws those unhandled exceptions. So that's kind of a caveat with that. I'll have to so if we put, oh, I know what we want it to do.
Maybe try like a try catch and just throw it away.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that would be, here we go. No, I thought I had put some of that, some stuff in here. And the problem is this new event. I wonder if this will do it. We're getting SLE2, yep, okay. See what happens now. Got my color. Yep, see? So I just had to put some code in there, just something. Doesn't have to do anything. I could, you know, but that's something. So that's basically it.
So you have to have some code in any of the
Yeah,
events.
that's been my experience. I mean, perhaps there's something that I could do in Visual Studio with the control. Maybe I don't have my event doing the proper thing or something, but unfortunately I'm not that experienced as a .NET control programmer that to know all of the nuances with that. But just in the implementation that I have, it's been you have to have something. If you're exposing that event to PowerBuilder, you have to have something in PowerBuilder that's, you know, doing something in order for it not to throw that exception. No, no. I mean, that could be one way. I was just trying to come up with the simplest thing here, and so let's go back to that. Okay, so I have some resources here. There is, oops, let me go back. What did I do? Oh, this is from my class, so. And I'm also not a PowerPoint person, so I don't know how to go backwards in the slide. But, let me bring that back up, though, because they do have a somebody on Code Project created a C# version of this same thing. Because the toolkit that Microsoft has is just for Visual Basic, and this guy created one for C#. I just started looking at that. I was hoping to try to have a VB control and a C# control and kind of go through PowerBuilder and control the one control from the other control, and you know, and then reality would collapse upon itself, and that would be that. But I wasn't able to get around to it. So, get back to that resources page. So that up at the top there, that's a link to the Code Project article for this toolkit for C#. There's down at the bottom on the online blogs, there's my blog, there's the PowerBuilder blog on Sybase, and this last link is to the PowerBuilder Developers Journal, and Bruce Armstrong had done a series of articles on exposing .NET stuff to PowerBuilder, but they're several years old, but that served as kind of the basis for my investigation. So that's that. And that's me.